We lost Eva already.
Or she crashed. I have crashed back to my, even though I haven't had
Okay.
internet problems, I've had Sansar crashing on me problems.
Okay. Well, she might not understand all of everything I say since she's German.
I always go back and rewatch the video because I
Yeah.
like to be able to pause and follow along at a slower pace.
You do watch the one on YouTube, right?
Yes, I do.
Perfect. 1 minute and I'm going to start. Ooh. Hey Disney!
Hello.
Just in
Hey,
time.
Disney.
Hey Nikki! Welcome.
Hello, hello.
Hi,
Hello, everybody.
Nikki.
Let me set up my OBS.
Hi, Taz.
Hey Tess!
Hello, hello.
Yeah, pretty.
Mhm. Yeah, I'm going to start. It's the top of the hour. Before I start today, please ask questions via chat if you have any, simply because I only have the megaphone and people who are watching my live stream or my video later cannot hear your questions. For the people who watch my lessons via Twitch, please be aware I always have an edited version of each lesson on my YouTube channel. There you will see my screen open close and so you can better follow my steps. The URL of the edited video is in this description of this video. If it's not, you are probably watching this live and I have not edited the video just yet. So today I will show you how to make corsets with laces like the one I'm wearing now. And let's just dive right in. I have chosen for the Alina body for this one because, yeah, the breasts, it makes it much more easier to work with when you have something like a corset. And I already draw it on the body in advance, so you see, and I don't edit the middle line because that's not necessary at this point. So I am just going to get the base, enter, there it is. And right away I see a thing that I wanted to do in a different way after all, so I'm going to remove this and I'm going to show you what I meant with that. That is this. I am going to go edit my line and I want this one flattened as a straight line and on the back as well. Is this color for body right for you? Can everybody see the lines good enough? Can make it another color if you want to. You can see them, great. I cannot help it with my what, Disney? I cannot help it if my sound fades away. It's something I cannot fix. So flatten as a straight line both sides and then do it again. Then I'm going to enter when I take the tool flatten. Now you see those lines on the side are perfectly straight and that's what I was going for. Now I'm going to use my tool to straighten this out as well, like this. And I think it's better to make this straight. So I'm going to delete the curved lines. Then I'm going to symmetrically copy it. Place it a little better. Sew it together. And simulate it. As you can see, I still have the default fabric, and it's better when you start with a corset when you work with a very stiff fabric, so I'm going to change that. I'm going to my fabric. I'm going to change that into full grain leather. That's the stiffest one you can get out of the bunch. And now you see it's already better, although this curve should be to the skin. So I'm going to put some elastic in that. Click on the upper line and turn on elastic. And simulate it. As you see, that's already way better. Okay. Now, depending on what you want to achieve, you have corsets, of course, who are close to in the front, but you also have, like I have here, that they are officially not sewn together. To get that effect, you click on Edit Sewing Line. You click the sewing line between those two. Then you change custom angle to turned. And if you simulate it, you already see that it starts to break up. To make it better, or unless you like it like this, you can then click one of those lines and say seam taping to make it a little bit stronger, so that now it looks a little bit smoother. And I like it like that, so I leave it like that for now. Then, for later details, I will come back later. I'm going to start with the back. As you can watch here, no, I'm going to have to get another background then. Let me get it. This one. As you can see, here's the part where the laces come up, and so actually those are two parts of fabrics, but I'm going to use the part we have now to cheat a little, and I'm going to offset an internal line. You can do it like this, or you can draw it first. But I think this is about right. Yes. Okay. Now I'm going to copy this part and I'm going to take off this part by clicking on this line and say cut. Then I'm going to remove this one. And this actually fits exactly on this part. So, but there's still a little bit of elastic going on here that I want to remove. And make it straight. Oh, no. Before I make it straight, I have to make sure it's right. So, y-axis. Like that. Then I'm going to sew into this part. And to make it easier, I am going to select this piece and say superimpose over. And there you got the first one. Then I'm going to make this symmetric. With sewing. Superimpose over. And that's the first part of these, where the rings of the laces will go through. Okay. Those are too long for the moment, so I'm going to shorten them. Something like this maybe. Yes, that's it. let's see. Then I'm going to make the holes for. And to do that, I'm going to use the internal ellipse. And when I'm drawing an ellipse, well, if you hold the shift key, you will get a perfect circle. So, and I'm going to make one like this here. Maybe change the position a little so that it's in the middle. Something like this, yes. Now I'm going to take an internal polyline straight to the middle and double click to end the polyline. Now I'm going to take the curvative tool and make a nice curvative, and to mimic then I will explain that later. It's easier when you see it. And I'm going to change the line length. I don't want it to go from top to bottom, and I do it like this. Let's say 60 on both ends. Okay. This is actually the hole where the lasers go through, and this is a help line to sew the lasers on, because if you are going to fake the holes, you could actually say now convert to hole. However, that doesn't work with Marvelous Design. It's not like you can put the lasers through it like you normally in real life. You have to fake those. And this help line gives an extra curvative to the line, which makes it seem like it's okay. Those things happen. Let's see. Did we all got crashed?
Yeah, looks like it.
Is my microphone still on?
Yes, works just fine.
Perfect. Let me set up my things back then. Ooh. Even my stream is not working with me at the moment. Maybe I should try to put it in again. One moment. Yes, that helps. Now it's the wrong window. Way too much lag. What is going on? Yeah, trippy it is. I don't understand why. Oh, of course.
Really, you made it! Yay!
The wrong arrow will help do this. One moment.
Oh, I did. I did. I thought shit the time. I thought shit. Oh, I got to get on.
Yay, glad you're here. It's a good one.
Hey, Nikki. Well, I came in, I thought, bugger me, there's no one in here.
Yeah, we just crashed out.
Oh, no. Poor Daisy. It's a bloody way, isn't it?
Yup.
So how you two tarts doing, all right?
Really good, actually.
Good. That's good. I'm whispering. I don't don't think anyone can hear me.
Everyone can, Ellie.
Oh, bugger me. I've been caught out.
Okay, guys, where was I before I crashed? Somebody can tell me?
Shit.
Beginning?
Yeah. Okay, I will just remove the circle and just do that again, right? Okay, oh, that's too much. Okay. So, I'm going to make those holes for the laces then. Then I'm going to try that again. I'm going to start with an internal ellipse and I'm going just to place it somewhere, and while I'm dragging it you can hold your shift key so you get a perfect circle. I'm going to 50. Going to place that a little bit in the middle. Good enough for me at this moment. Then I'm going to take an internal polyline and I'm going to do that straight through the middle, double click to end the line. Then I'm going to give it a curvative. Like I said, and I'm not sure if you heard it, but I'm doing this because this is actually going to be where there's a sort of like helpline to sew the lace on, because a lace cannot be like in real life, it doesn't work in Marvelous Designer. You will have to fake a little here and there. You could actually say convert to whole if you want to, but yeah, that doesn't work because you cannot put the laces through there, so it's actually a waste of your time to do it. It's more visual effect to have holes than actually usable for anything. So I'm going to make this line a little smaller. Oh, I see people see the worst things now on the internet. Not good. One moment. Yes, it's just better so that people can watch it. And going to change the length, and I'm going to change that to 60, and I do both like that. Yes. Now this is going to be repeated down below. Why are you not in the middle? Like that, yeah. So the easiest way is to select everything. Control C, Control V, then it will be there. Then you can place it somewhere, and then you could actually keep going. But it's always best before you do so to zoom out. So that's easier for you to place the next one. And now I'm going to hold my shift key also so that it's in a straight line. Now I'm going to click my right mouse button and I get this menu. Then I'm going to continue until I got the amount of buttons that I want, and I can change the value here to, let's say, like this. And when I'm satisfied, I click OK. I'm going to select them all and I'm going to place them a little bit more down. No, too high, something. I'm happy with that. Okay. The next thing we're going to make are the laces. And I'm going to start with a rectangle. Wide about, let's say, 2 centimeters for now, and high 50 centimeters. Okay. And I'm going to see if this fits. No, it doesn't. I could change this. Going to change this to the same length, of course. 50, both. Okay. No, no. Let's just keep it like that. Or I can change this, of course. And I'm going to use the curvative tool to mimic the curve. Then I'm going to unfold it to have the exact same curve there. And I'm going to remove those extra points. Then I'm going to sew it to the pieces. And I'm going to give it another fabric so that you can see it better. I'm going to make this another color too. Let's make this pink for now, and assign a new fabric to this one. And it still has to be a bit stiff, but not too stiff, so I'm going for hardware for this one. And let's give it this color for now. Sew it. And select it in the 3D viewing port, then click superimpose over, and then you can simulate it. So that's the first one. However, I don't want this to lie on top. If you look at the example I have here, the first lace is actually under the leather. So for now I'm going to work with layers. When I'm done, I will remove every layer, because if you leave your layers on and somebody wants to put something for clothing on your clothing, they will fight against each other and they will try to crawl under your corset. So, in some things it might be useful to do that, but in most things not. So, but for now, to get the effect I want, I'm going to use layers. And this one, the first layer, is of course the corset, is the 0. You can see that here. And then the lace should be layer 1, and the flaps over it should be layer 2. And I'm going to simulate it, and as you can see, they're now under it. The next thing I need to do, and before I continue to copy my lace, is going to give an internal line, also to mimic some curves. I'm going to select both sides, and then I'm going to choose offset as internal line along curve, so I get exactly in the middle a line. And I'm going to make this lace, because it's a very tiny detail and it's easier to work with higher value, so I'm going to turn this particle distance to more higher poly version for now to 5. Going to simulate it, and then I'm going to manipulate this internal line. If I go below 180, it will turn outside, and if you go over, it will go inside, and I want it to outside a little, so it gives the idea it's a real lace. Now you can also click this off, that it will make the edge not sharp, which is more suitable for a lace. Going to continue to build, going to copy this one. And this one is going to be like this, so then to help myself I'm going to place it like that. And I'm going to sew it together, and you have to watch that you're not going to sew laces together, only to the flaps on the side of the where the rings are for the laces. And you do the same here. Copy it. And I'm going to turn it, rotate it, and keep sewing them together on the spots where they have to go. Sometimes it's easier to work in the 2D and sometimes in the 3D. Luckily you can. So I'm going to simulate it. And as you see, first of all, it seems like this is one is crossed. Not sure, maybe or maybe not. Let's check this out. No, should be good. Why are you acting like that way then? Let's try this one again by superimpose over. Now it's scale. Okay. We want these two laces to go above the flaps on the side, so we're going to change the layers. And since the last layer was 2, you can see that here, we're going to change these two to layer 3. And we're going to simulate it again. And as you can see, there you got the first part. Again, you're going to copy these last two. Yes. I'm going to place them a little bit better here. Because now I'm going to use the 3D window to sew it together to help me better. I only don't see my lines. Maybe this helps. Yes. Okie dokie. This one to this one. This one to this. Oh, it seems crossed. Let me see. Okay, no, see. This to this one, yes. This to this one. And that. Simulate it. And now those last two I want to go below. So I'm going to change this to, what was it? 1, I believe. Let's check it. Yes. That looks about right. Then we're going to take the last 4, copy it again, place it a little bit so it makes it easier for you to sew it to the right spot. Then take your sewing tool and okay, that one is crossed. Let's try that again. Yes, and those are 2 spots. And since we copied the first 4, the layer should be perfectly right, so it makes it a lot easier. Okay. Oh, wrong spot. 1 moment. Control Z. Do it again. Okay, that was fun. Okay. Back to the lesson. And you keep sewing those parts together like I said, so keep doing that. And now it should be right. Let's try it again. And if somebody is acting up, you can just select it and say overimpose or under, and it will straighten the things up. Repeat the last step, copy the last 4. Rinse, repeat. Okay. Forgot one. And the last 2, so I'm going to take these 2 here and copy those 2 here. And then we take the one from top and copy that below. And that's just the lower 2. And voila. Now, like I said, you don't have actually holes. You do have to know a little bit how to make alpha on textures, so, and I assume that you do, so I'm not going to explain you that, but you can easily see what I mean with those holes when I go here into wireframe. Here you can see the holes, and that's the one that you make sure that becomes alpha on your texture. And when you load up, and we'll load up with a shader that supports alpha. So that's really the base for making laces in Sansar, in Marvelous Designer. This is the way how I do it. So, but maybe there are more ways, but this is the way how I do it. So let's continue making this thing. Of course, you can also make those laces do look like this. Although I tried, but you have can get in some trouble when you want to put on some extra jacket or something like that. So it's optional. You don't have to do it. You can do it. I personally don't like to do it, so I leave it like that. The next thing I'm going to do, and I'm going to show you first a picture of the front. Let's see, the front or the sides is also a good one to show you what I mean. You can see those lines here. Those lines, they are actually all sewn parts together, but since this is not real life, you can simulate this. You don't have to do it everything in part. It's nice to have it all in one, but still want those details in if you bake from high poly to low poly. So here's a way how I do it. First I'm going to draw on the pattern. First before I do that, I will make an extra seam on my bottom and on the top. So I'm going to simply say offset as internal line, and I'm going to make this 50 centimeter, 0.50, a half centimeter. Yes, and I'm going to say cut and sew. So, okay, like this, because those edges are way sharper, so that you can see them better in Sansar. And do the same for the top. 50. Also cut. So. Simulate it, because it's always going to deteriorate after a while. So, okay. Next I'm going to draw those lines where I was talking about. So I'm going to take this tool, and when you look here, you first see here one, but of course you've had your own freedom to do what you find pretty, of course. So let's start here. I like this one, and one on the sides, and one here. Now I'm going to select them all. Control A is select all when you have selected one, and then you say convert to internal shape. So you got them on both sides, and for everyone I'm going to also add an extra line. I say offset as internal line and make that 50, keep that 50, yeah, 0.50 centimeters, and since they're a bit above and beyond the points, I'm going to extend trim to pattern outline. And now I'm going to select them all, because they are actually help lines for me, and I will show you in a minute why. First I'm going to select them all. Now I'm going to say convert to baseline. Now they're all blue lines, and I know sometimes this will happen. Normally you can see them all, but somehow it doesn't always work in Marvelous Designer. Can you leave my bunny alone, please? Thank you. Anyhow, continue. Now I made those help lines because I'm going to redraw them, but this time as an internal rectangle, but I will draw them with an internal polygon line. Because they're not straight like a rectangle should be, and I'm going to use those help lines to form that rectangle. And you can of course tweak them when you have drawn the first lines, but it doesn't necessarily have to be perfectly correct. And as you've drawn one, you can now select it and can say clone as pattern, so you know that it exactly fits that piece you just drawn in there. So that's why I use the help lines. I want it to fit perfectly, and this is one of the ways you can do it. There are more ways, but this is, I try to always find the quickest and the best way personally, but I think I do. But that's different for everybody. Let's continue. Let's sew these parts together. I like to use free sewing for this part, so I'm going to completely select one, then select the other sides. And since it dropped to the floor, I'm going to simply do it like this and say superimpose over and simulate it. Now, to give it a bit more, the illusion that it's also a bit more round and curved, you can also add a line in there. So again, I'm going to select the both sides and say offset as internal line along curve, and then you get a line straight in the middle. And then I'm going to simulate it, select the line, and change the value to 100, and as you can see it's popping out much more now. So if you bake it from high to low, you'll get more details from that. And this is, I'm going to continue that for the rest as well. So I'm going to draw it here, another rectangle with the internal polygon line. Tweak it when you're not satisfied. Just simply select one of the dots and drag your mouse until you are satisfied with the line. Again, then you check it, select it, then you're going to clone as a pattern again. You sew it together. I use the free sewing tool for this one. Especially with such small parts, it's sometimes hard to sew them together. Easier if you just work symmetrically when it's possible, because some designs won't let you, of course. Here something went wrong with the sewing line. Yes, it's crossed. I can select it and say reverse, then I'm going to just choose it, superimpose over, and there we go. Also want the middle line in that, so again, both sides, select them. Offset as internal line along curve, and click OK. Change the value to 100. And here I could also turn off fold rendering, but I leave it on here, so it just gets a little bit more detail. In Sansar, it will look more like a curve than like a fold anyhow. Sansar just loves to eat details. Okay, let's continue. Tweak it. Something like that. Again, clone as pattern. Again, sew it together. wrong sewing tool. I want the free one. Yes. Okay. Superimpose over, and again I have my lines crossed, but it's so easy to fix. It can also be done with Control B, but this works as well. And last but not least, on the back again. Tweak here and there when necessary. Clone as a pattern. Free sewing. And you could also actually always check the indicator if you're sewing it on the right side. But if it's a small item like I have now, it's sometimes hard to see. But it's easily to fix. Superimpose over. And here we go. Again, I forgot a few lines in the middle here, see, so I'm going to fix that now. And I can do actually more at once, so select them both, and there you go. Then you can change the value from both. Okay. Now I'm going to select all 4 of them and say symmetrically sewing. Pattern with sewing, yes. Super overimpose, impose over, yes. And there you go. Those are the lines from the, it can mimic these lines. Okay. Now let's see if we can make things like this. I did this on my design I'm wearing now as well, so that shouldn't be a problem. Let's change the background to help me a little bit better. Taking the front and we're going to now the first thing I'm going to do is simulate this line. First I'm going to say offset as internal line 1 centimeter and click OK. And since it's not reaching till the end, I'm going to say extend trim to pattern outline, and I will add an extra line, and I'm going at 0.10 centimeters. And again, since it's not reaching still the top, I also going to extend trim to pattern outline. And now I'm going to change this value to mimic to a seam, and like something like this. You have to be careful with it. If you want to do some fine tweaking with extra sharp lines, I recommend only doing it on the high poly model. If you do it on your base model, you will load up later. It will get in fight with everything, and it will not work as you intended to be. So those things I'm showing you now, but I highly advise you to do that on the last things. So I will keep it mildly now, let's say 190. So it will just be friendly. Okay. Next thing, I'm going to try to replicate this button. Not sure how you call it. And for that, I'm going to start with a polygon line and build this thing. Give it a curve. Something like this. And since I cannot see where the hole is now, I'm going to turn this off and start drawing internally. Giving some curve here and there to that it looks like that element on the picture. Something like this, and this time I'm going to turn this back on. I'm going to convert this to hole. Now, this is of course way too big, but now I'm going to look here. Where is it? There it is. Select it and bring it in place. Now I'm going to assign it to his own fabric. I'm going to make this full grain leather, and just for looks at the moment, maybe we don't see it, maybe we do. Metal, and I'm going to scale this one now. So and I keep on trying to position it on one of the spots where it should come. And then I'm going to scale it again. This looks about right. Somewhere there. So I'm going to put a point here, a blue point. Now I can go back and see where that point is. Yeah, or did I leave my... There it is. Drag that along. Let's do that again. Right about there. So, like this. Going to take my free sewing tool and I'm going to try to place it there. I might have to change my layers again because I wanted to stay here and not go under this layer, but we will see. First I'm going to just simulate and see what happens. That looks okay. So that's not okay. Then I'm going to turning on the sewing lines now so that I can better watch where to place this element. Something like here, yeah. Okay. I'm going to clone this in an internal shape and paste it. Sew it together. reverse. And see what happens. Still everything looks perfect. Then I'm going to copy it. And you can use the same technique I showed before. The only thing I did wrong is not keep the line straight, so let's try that again. Copy, paste, hold the shift, zoom out so that you can see what you need. Something like that maybe, or try the different values. That looks good. And I'm going to sew them again in place. I'm using the 3D sewing tool now, and I'm doing it by eye. Normally I'm more focused on that it's exactly on the same spot, but if you are looking for details to do details during a lesson, it's getting pretty boring. But the good thing from a free sewing tool is that it gives you a blue spot at where you have to end. That's the exact same length of the other piece you just selected, so that's a great help. Do I remember the value between my... But I could just copy and paste this if I'm correct. Yes. Yep. No, that's not the right value. Then I'm going to do it on manual modes. If you and still knew the value I didn't watch, I was not paying enough attention, then you can just do it like I just did. But this works as well. And the last one. Now, of course, I have to sew them. Oh, wrong. Now you still see on the other side also the form of this thing while I'm sewing it too. So you have to remove that later, but you could have done that in advance by making it not symmetrical to each other. that would have prevent doing that. Although it seems like, weirdly enough, I don't see it now on the other side. So I'm not sure if it's going right now. Let me see what's happening here. Okay, I didn't show the internal. Yeah, smart. Let's try this one again. Let's see how much is in between. I can try. There we go. So let's continue that. Sometimes it's a tedious job because you have to do some things over and over. But if you work with symmetrical things, it helps you save a lot of time. No, not that side, this side. Yes. Finally, let's try that. And like I said, some pieces might fall behind it because it needs to know that it needs to lie above it. So let's try change the layer to 1. See if that helps. And sometimes you have to help them a little by superimpose over. As you see, that works. And the last thing I did with my design is actually put a button on this thing because it looks like a round. It's a it's just so it goes in this hole officially. And I only use that in my high poly model so that it's when I make a normal map of it, it puts it on the low poly. So it's just only and only on the high poly model, and it's just go to the button. Creating property. And let's just look at something that could simulate a round form. Maybe this one. Of course, this one is way too big. We're going to change the values. Let's make this a little bit bigger. Change it to metal so you can see it better. Still a little bit bigger. Something like that. So, and you copy that on the other ones as well. Select. But you get the drifts, and this is the base. Of course, now I have made it this one in pure and leather. And you can there's a whole bunch of different corsets. Ones are loose, ones are super tight fit. So that's it's a personal choice what to use. You can. When you make it you bake a hive for the low poly, you can change this to 20, and then you can make other fabrics to get more wrinkles, etc. And sometimes keep in mind, especially when you work with a lot of details and close to the skin, and you want to give some extra I personally would start with first making the base, and now here is the base, and I would save this one because this is the one I will probably will wear and will use for the model for in world. But the high poly one, if I start to make high details and if I would simulate it fully, it will probably start fighting each other. And so I usually make those by freezing parts of my model, so that I can keep going and keep getting those extra details I want to bake in my high poly. And another thing you could do is when you go in high poly, I'll show that quickly, although it is already past the hour, but still I will make it quickly. Another way is to use the sculpt mode. I use also frequently. But you have to go in the higher poly then, and then you could actually make some wrinkles on another way. But it's super sensitive, you have to use real low values to get there. Today is one of those days. If you are watching me in the stream at the moment, you could try to, and you were on Unworld, you can follow, come online and go to me, but I'm not sure if you knew. Okay, I have to cancel further explanation because people cannot come to my world at the moment because I crashed. So
We crashed again.
Yeah,
me too.
Yeah, it's annoying. It's the second time. I was just about to finish. That's the whole. I will get it back. Let me pull up my Twitch again, my account. No, not Twitter, Twitch.
Kind of the same thing to me.
I just teleported to you. That's what you should tell people.
Yeah, but where should I say it? I already said it on on Twitch, but.
Yeah, that's true, right? Like, we can try to reach we're friends with most anyone.
Yeah. Me too, however. Working with three screens at the same time. Trying to get things back up. it's not working. Yeah. Okay, that's back. Let's see what's in Discord. No, I'm not important at the moment. Okay. Now, I'm going to finish it for you, a few people then. I can't help it.
Yeah, they will catch up online. I mean, that's how I do it. Like, I usually come here to show face and get an overview, and then when I need the knowledge, I actually do it when I need it.
Okay. Wow.
Right. Goodness.
Sorry.
That was crazy. How many crashes can we have in a day? My goodness.
I don't know what's lately going on.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. But I was just about to get to the end of my lesson anyhow. There's just a little thing I wanted to show you guys with sculpting. That's one of the things I usually do also with some, depending on what I'm working on, of course. But if you use sculpting, you also have to make sure you have at least a particle distance of 5, because if you do it with a higher value, it probably you will not see much. And you also have to make sure that your values are pretty low, because this is a pretty strong tool, as you can see. This is the one I used mostly, the smoothing tool and the crease tool, I think. I'm not sure what they call it. And as you can see, you can make creases. And this can help you to make for the higher poly. Now I have the value super low, so now it's look a little bit. But if you, and it's something like this, you get the drift. And that's how you make a corset. Of course, a lot of details you still have to do with Marvelous Designer. But, oh, why did I? Let's see what. I see all kinds of messages on. Okay, nothing important. Maybe it was something for the other people. Okay, so this is about it. I think I'm going to leave it at this. Yeah, thank you for joining my lesson for as long as it let you. You can follow me on Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube for more information. Yeah.
I'm in plus background.
I will post my URLs in open chats. My lessons are free, so if you appreciate the work and knowledge I'm sharing in my lessons, you can tip me by buying a t-shirt from the wall beside you. And thank you for joining.
Yeah, that's why I switched, because I don't have money on Beginnaria.
Oh! Yeah, you mostly are a big tipper. Any questions? No questions? Everybody got it?
No questions, just a comment. You're amazing.
Ah, thank you.
Thank you.
For the
It's fun to see how you put all this stuff together and make it into the beautiful items you make. It's really fun.
Thank you. Enjoy doing
Yeah,
it.
you would totally think like we would have more takers, right? Like, I mean, how is it possible that no one finds all the cool stuff we're offering?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, and I am also doing it on YouTube. People watch it later, so maybe that's not why they're not coming. Or didn't you meant that?
Yeah, and that's slowly growing.
Okay. Okie dokie. Well, I have no clue what I'm going to do next week, but I'm sure I will come up with something. And I will see you guys next week. I'm going to take a break and get me something to drink. See you next time.
Well deserved. See you next week. See you.
Thank you, Daisy. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Who's all here?